Hi, and welcome to our session today on working with schools. This has been really a hot topic among a lot of our booksellers, and we have three booksellers that are currently working with schools in one capacity or another. We have Hannah Welcher from Books Inc., Susie Huff from Hicklebee's, and Christie Olson from Gallery Bookshop. And I'm going to turn it over to Hannah Welcher.
Yes, hi everyone. Like Anne said, my name is Hannah and I work for Books Inc., which is a large independent in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have 10 stores, so we work a little bit differently. We have a very active website too, but with schools we do a little bit of everything. We do an extensive book fair program, we do author visits, we do direct school buys, which sometimes are handled through me or through the local store manager. We also do shopping nights, which is usually also handled through the local store manager, because we like to keep the relationships between our stores and their local community really strong. My technical title is the Book Fair and Children's Event Manager. So I am the one who oversees everything to do with the book fair program, as well as children's events in our stores and virtual, well, they're going to be virtual now, but school visits as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're offering in the virtual world now, the post-COVID world. And we are still doing book fairs. We were lucky enough to be working with a school in March, just before the shutdown, that was looking for a different option from our physical fair that would provide some type of catalog that their students who were still supposed to be in class could look at, but we as visitors could no longer be on campus. So I spent a week preparing a catalog, and then unfortunately the fair was canceled in the end because they completely shut down and sent their students home, which was unexpected even to the librarian leading up to it. So that fair did not happen, but because of it, I had the resources to move forward with the remaining fairs in our spring. And we did lose a couple, but we were able to keep most of them. And I was gonna show you today some of the one tool that we used, which was canva.com. So I'm going to share my screen briefly and give you kind of an example of that. I know Susie and Christie don't use this program, so there shouldn't be too much of an overlap. So let me just bring my screen up and let me know, someone give a shout out if it's not showing. So there's my Zoom. So this is Canva. And this is our account. We do pay for it. It's a really reasonable membership fee. Is that something I can share, Anne, with membership fee? Let me know and I will. But as you can see, it has many options. You can design anything. Earlier, I even looked up if you can design a bookmark, and you can. And these are all, here I have all of our book fairs that we've been working on. And an example of one, this is the first catalog that we put out. So it's fairly simple, if you can call it simple. It took me a whole week to put together. But the first page is just the rundown of how it works. And one of the most important aspects of our fair is that it does run on our website. So we are able to create coupon codes on our website. So what we did is we created a unique coupon code, which you can see right here. This is St. Matt's coupon code, and we're able to run it for a specific date. And I say it here, and I always say it when I reach out to the teachers or the book fair coordinators, that it doesn't take money off of the sale right away, but it's a marker. So I'm actually able to go back through our website and see all orders that were placed using that coupon code, and that's how I gather the sales for the school. And that's what I tell them, that any order using this coupon code, a portion of it will go back to the school based on your sales. So that's the first page, but then I have it broken down like every section of a book fair, pretty general. And then I pulled our titles based off our fall sales. So we were lucky enough to have those gathered already. So I just pulled the top 12 or so of our bestsellers. I pulled all the information from our website, from Ingram, from Edelweiss. I checked that they were on stock. And then I picked some new ones, which were the titles that changed a lot throughout the season. So every time I sent it to a new school, I made sure that I updated the new books or switched some things around. I had my book fair staff send in their staff picks, and it changed throughout the season. And I always had the reminder of where to go to shop at BookSync and use your code. The more you say it, the better they retain it. And as you can see, it goes down to early readers. We have middle grade novels, graphic novels, nonfiction, young adult. This school did want young adult titles. We don't always include them, depending if it's an elementary school, they may not want them. We have that option for the school. So it's really, Canva is really easy to use. It lets you, kind of customize everything. You can move things around. You can copy from previous posts. You can download things. You can add elements. It's just, I highly recommend it if you're looking for something that will let you use catalogs or make catalogs or make flyers or anything like that. And you can download them here as PDFs. And it's just really, hopefully you can see that because your box is in my way. So you can download them for a PDF and share it that way. And that's what we've been doing, is just providing the PDF to the school and telling them, please share this widely. All of the, oops, let's see, let me move this box. Can't really see where I'm clicking. There it is. So all of these should link back. I'm like now afraid that I'm going to click on this and it doesn't go to our website, but they should all link to our website. See? To the box or to the books page. They can just buy it there and add it to their cart. So we are really trying hard to make it user friendly, and I think it worked. Obviously the fairs aren't as lucrative as a physical fair is, because they do have to be reminded a lot to shop. There is a lot more steps than just like, oh, it's a fun book fair that our school's putting on that's there when my child's there, and when I pick them up, they have to remember to go and buy it and click all these and do all these steps. But it's better than nothing. So we were really lucky that we were able to get this rolling. We actually only lost 2 of our fairs, and we opened it up to our fall fairs as well, so they could see how it runs. And at the beginning, when our stores were closed too, so everything was being shipped via Ingram, we did, adjust our percentages, our donation percentages based on what we could afford, and the schools were really understanding. Since then, now that our stores are open, I've revisited our contract. I've updated it to accommodate the virtual fairs, and we've changed our expectations, both for the amount of money they make and the relationships. And our percentages have gone back to being on a sliding scale. So we're kind of getting back to normal routine in some places, but we are going to do virtual all fall season. So that's what we do for book fairs. We're also going to be doing shopping nights, which are now shopping weeks. Very similarly, they just won't have the accompanying catalog because that's a lot of work to do. So we're still going to do the special coupon code, and they have 1% bracket, but they have a whole week to shop on our website. So that's what we're doing these days with schools. And I do want to briefly mention that we do have what used to be called the Not Your Mother's Book Club Fund, which is we take a percentage of every young adult author event sales, and we put that into a special fund that we then use to maybe help a school buy books that may not be able to afford them for their students, and so forth. So we do all sorts of things with schools, and I'd be happy to touch more on that, but I know that we only have so much time. So I will relinquish the control on to the next person.
Okay, hello. My name is Susie Huff. I work at Hicklebee's in San Jose, California. When shelter in place took effect in March, we were one of the first counties to really shut down fast. And it seems like it never really went away. we had book fairs that had already sort of been queued up and were ready to go. So we had to act very quickly to convert those to a virtual format. I'm going to try to share my screen so that I can show you the website that we put together. Already had books pulled for these book fairs. So we put a website together very quickly that had all of the books listed so that our customers could just click and shop, click and shop. This was all done through Indie Commerce and did not take a lot of time to set up. So that was really helpful for us. We shared the link with our different schools, and each school was then able to pass it on through whatever virtual learning system they were using. Some of the schools use Zoom, some have Google Meet, some use others. And we found that generally the sales were highest right after the link went out, but because we didn't have to physically take up space at the school or move books in and out, we were able to extend the book fair season out to 2 months instead of just 1 or 2 weeks. And a lot of schools responded really well to that. You would have the initial burst, and then as the weeks went on, they would sort of re-highlight something different each week, and you would get another little burst going all the way through the end of the school year. So that was pretty effective. I think in the end, not all of our schools participated because some administrations were not interested in virtual book fairs at that time. But for the most part, it went smoothly, and schools were happy to participate. One of the things that sort of had surprised us initially, thank you, Anne. So this is what our website looked like. You can see at the top, we had some pretty brief instructions on how each school could let us know which school they're with so that we could make sure to give their school credit. And we just listed books mostly based on what was either selling well at the store at the time or what we had in our warehouse, because we have inventory specifically set aside for book fairs, and we didn't want to have to return it all in June if we didn't have to. But yeah, so we had this link that we sent to all our schools. And I think one of the big learning curve things that we initially did was we offered free shipping on any order that was placed, no matter the size. And for some, depending on your school, this adds up really quickly, because some schools that are more affluent, the parents would place these nice large orders and it was fine. But at some of our other schools, you'd get one order for $9.99 or one order for a book that's $6.99. And we had said we'd send it, so away it goes. And as you know, you don't make much money on that. But we found that when we turned off the free shipping that halfway through, it did not impact sales very much. So that was kind of a good thing to know, and unexpected. So our book fairs otherwise, I think, followed patterns very similar to what Hannah described. Now that we have more time to prepare for fall, we are going to be doing a more detailed website that's individualized for school. So highlighting books that are recommended by the teachers, and then having the images of the book cover as well as instead of just a link, all in one place. So I think it will be much more shoppable. And sorry, I got distracted by the comments. It'll be much more shoppable and easier for our schools to share as well, because that wall of text, while it is very fast and easy to do, is not the most appealing shopping base. Another program that we had worked on in the spring was virtual author visits. We had initially scheduled out our spring, so we had lots of author visits in the works. And since many of them were local, we were able to sort of recalibrate and convert them to a virtual event. For the most part, the author works directly with the school to figure out what format would be best, how they would be doing their presentation. So we were not involved with the streaming aspect or any of that. We made individual website landing pages for each author where you could say which books you wanted, if you wanted a signed book plate, and that sort of thing. And after the author presentation, we would work with them to get book plates, to send them book plates, get them sent back to us, and then sent on to the schools for distribution. It was initially a bit of a rough start. The presentation end of it went smoothly, but getting the schools to shop with us would be a bit of a challenge. And I think this more goes to all events and not just the school-related virtual events. getting them to loop back to the store was not always the smoothest. But as time went on and people grew more used to doing things through like Zoom and through virtual formats, we did get better as time went on. So I think now that, again, people have been more trained and they're ready for it for the fall, it should go much more smoothly. The third thing that we did in the spring was a book drive. And the book drive, we asked for, it was a cash book drive. We weren't taking used books, which we sometimes do with other book drives. And we collected monies so that we could buy books for Title I schools and schools with underprivileged populations. And then we would work with the school district and specifically through their school lunch program to get the books to the students. Because with the schools closed, we didn't have an obvious way of distributing the books. But not each school, but several schools had like a free lunch program where families would come and pick up food every day. So we put together book bundles that would have 3 or 4 books in each one. And when they were handed their food at these meetup sessions, they would also be handed a bag of books. And then they could just drive on. And so this was a way to safely distribute books. And it was easy for both their volunteers and for us to put together. And it was very successful. I think in the end, we gave away almost $4,000 worth of books to the different school districts to the students in the school district. And that went a long way to helping with the literacy issues, because a lot of these kids are those same populations that are having trouble with connecting online and are perhaps not having access to books in another place. So that's sort of the quick and dirty version of the 3 things that we were doing. We've done other things as well. We've been working with schools to sell books directly to teachers. And as we look into fall and more schools are feeling more comfortable about opening up, we may do shopping nights or like one-night pop-up book fairs at the store. But at this point, we're still waiting to see what we're going to be allowed to do by the county and by the state. So that's all in flux right now. Okay, I'll turn it over to Christie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christie Olson. I have Gallery Bookshop up in Mendocino. And I have a specific type of program to tell you about that we have been doing since 1994 with our local schools, with 3 school districts in our area. And it's basically like a massive kind of giving tree book drive type of a program. And because it's, like Anne mentioned, it's a holiday program, we are just getting into our process of transforming it into something that can be done more completely online. So I'll tell you a little bit about the program and a little bit about the process we're tackling right now. So it's called Book Angels, and it is a book drive for individual requests for individual children for specific types of books. So it's all personalized. We administer it directly with the schools and social service agencies. So teachers and social workers primarily are our partners in this project. We have been usually fulfilling somewhere between 500 and 800 requests every year, which for context is about 1/3 of the entire population of school-aged children in the 3 districts that we serve. So it's a lot of kids for our rural community. Teachers give us a list of the kids they want books for. And it is, kind of need-based, and they ask for, they tell us a little bit about the age of the child and their interests. Then we get donations and get our customers to purchase these books. We have them gift wrapped and we have them delivered back to the schools or social service agencies, and they get, returned to the kids. So a big part of the appeal to it, and our community is really, really attached to this program. And a big part of the appeal is that they are individual requests for individual children. We commit to fulfilling all of them too. So it's not like they ask for 50 books and we'll do our best, but we commit to fulfilling all of them, and we always figure out a way to do it. So the challenge was to figure out how to do this. This program's been around since before there was even email newsletters. So it started out 100% on paper in store. And over the years, we've done more and more of it online, both the communication and the logistics, and also the marketing. And so going into it this year, we're trying to, you know, the challenge is how are we going to make this work with not knowing whether we're going to have our customers in our store, and with teachers not knowing whether they're going to have any in-person contact with their kids. So what we're doing is a process of, first of all, figuring out what the sticking points are going to be for all the stakeholders in this program. The stakeholders being essentially us, the booksellers, our partners, the teachers and social workers, and the public. And, you know, for us, the big sticking point is, are we going to be able to raise enough money and get our customers to purchase enough books to fulfill all these, given all the limits we have on business? We figure for our partners, our assumption is that the sticking point for them is going to be distribution of these books might be difficult. And then for the public, I think there's no sticking point except that I think that our community will be very disappointed if we don't do this program in a recognizable format, including personalized requests. Because our first thought was, boy, this would be a lot easier if it was just a generalized book drive. So we started by figuring out what we thought those problems were going to be. We're brainstorming solutions to each of them. And we're in the process right now of contacting representatives from each of the types of partners we work with and asking them what they think their challenges are going to be. So far, what we're finding out is that for some schools and some teachers, they're saying, there's no problem. We can get you the same information as usual. We're going to want books for our students and we will get them to them. Either like what Susie was saying through the lunch program, or if they're doing even the most hybrid of hybrid learning programs would offer them a way to get books to students. But we are also making plans for how to transform this into something that's a little easier for teachers to implement, and particularly to disperse the books to kids. We also did a big book drive in the spring that was really just getting like a book in the hands of every child, and they were not personalized. And so we're going to offer kind of a version of that as well. If you just want, you know, a book club for your distance learning students, we will get our customers to fulfill that as well. So those are the angles we're taking. This program is really easy to market online, in particular because of the personal requests. You know, a sixth grade person, you know, sixth grade student wants a book about science, you know, whatever, those kinds of personal requests really drive donations. So we're looking forward to being able to do that. And I think that it also, like I was referring to earlier before the meeting started, we already spun off a simple version of this to run all year round because our community asked for it. They wanted to be able to make donations at other times of the year, so we created a school library angels counterpart, where we take donations year round and they build up to a point where we just disperse a gift certificate. So that's kind of our backup plan, is to be offering that as well, because people are asking for it. But so that's our scheme, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes this year.
Thank you all. We do have some questions in the chat, and feel free to anybody to answer as you would. The first one, I'm curious to learn how each of you marketed your bookstores to local schools. Like, how did you get in with the library? This is from Heidi at Capital Books and seconded by Emily at a seat at the table.
Yeah, I can sort of address it. Luckily, I inherited a very full book fair program already, so I didn't have to do too much reaching out. But I've seen over the last couple of years that I've done this, that sometimes the best way to get into a school is for an author visit. So for example, I'll have someone looking for, I'll have a publicist reach out looking to put an author in a school, and I might look for a school that we haven't worked with before to kind of spread the love. And I'll literally go onto the website, do my own research, find the best person to contact. If the librarian's listed, I'll just cold call or cold email them and just say I have a an author interested in coming to your school, and we'd love to bring them to you, and this is what happens in that process. And that's kind of just how we get the in and the communication with the librarian. And then even if they say no, or if they're like enthusiastically for it, you know, we always say, you know, we also have, you know, our educator discounts, and we have, we work a lot with other schools with buying and things. And sometimes we even get, this fall and this past spring, we had a few schools reach out to us based on recommendations from other schools that have worked with us, especially now that we're doing virtual fairs and our calendar is more open. So I sent out at the beginning of the spring an email to all of our library contacts, whether they were librarians, or sorry, I should say school contacts, whether they were librarians or teachers that we've worked with, or the volunteers for the book fairs, and just said, this is what we're doing. If you'd like to join us, you know, let us know, or if you'd like to join in, let us know, if you have any questions. And I also had some of our booksellers who have more contacts locally based off of shopping nights or other programs that they've done for schools. Many of them go into schools for book talks. They sent the same email that I sent to their contacts that may not be, I have never worked with. So we just used our, you know, our booksellers kind of to get the word out.
Like Hannah, I inherited a very robust system already when I started at Hicklebee's, but there's always room for more growth. So some of the ways that we target teachers is, or I should say just the education market in general, not specifically teachers. First is through our educator night. We host this every fall, and it is usually a big party at the store. We have hundreds of people, probably 150-ish people, all teachers or librarians come. We have author presentations, we have prizes and giveaways. It gets them really pumped and excited about Hicklebee's and about our store specifically. We then follow up with them after the big party, just with a quick email highlighting that we have author visits, we have book fairs, we have, you fill in the blank here, we'll work with you. We can do so many cool things together. And that is a really good way to sort of reinforce that we're here and we're available to you every year. The educators that come tend to be the same batch over and over, but every year someone brings some friends, someone brings someone new, and we get, you know, a handful of new connections that way. If we are trying to target a specific school that we maybe don't have a working relationship with, or that relationship has sort of slid off, the first thing we do is sort of look through our mental role. We know a teacher there. The teacher might not be the person who we need to talk to for the specific project. Like the second grade teacher we know is not going to be in charge of the author visit, most likely, but she can tell us who to contact, and that personal recommendation makes sure that we will get through the noise and be heard. If we have to absolutely, completely cold call a school that we just don't know, I would just go on the website and look, find out who the principal is, find out who the media person, librarian person, whatever that role is at that school is. And the president or leader of the home and school club is the third person that I usually reach out to, and just introduce ourselves and whatever the specific ask is. If we have an author that wants to go to that school because they grew up in the area and love it, or if we have, we just want to try to open them up to book fairs, we go directly that way. But like I said, Hicklebee's has been open for 41 years, and we're a children's focused store. So a lot of those relationships had already been built up by the time I showed up.
I would add one thing to that is that we've had a surprisingly fruitful relationship with a local nonprofit that's a Mendocino Coast Children's Fund that just raises money for kids' needs. And it's been interesting, all the new contacts we've made through them with other people in the education and social services community that I wouldn't have known to reach out to. As part of the book drive we did with them in the spring, I made contact with our local county office of education migrant education support program. that serves hundreds of children of migrant workers that I didn't know about as a parent and spouse of a teacher in my local school district. I didn't know that existed. And we're now working with them to provide books through book drives and things like this Book Angels program.
I would just like to add that BookSync also does educator nights that are very similar to what Susie mentioned, and it is a great way to connect with your community. Again, that's handled through our stores managers to keep that community really tight with that store. So that's why I forgot to mention it, because I usually don't have a hand in it. You know, it's always that same exciting where they come into the store, there's more book talks. You know, it's the booksellers they're used to seeing that are giving their book talks. And it's just, sometimes there is an author visit. So it's very similar to what Susie said. It's a great way to connect.
Okay, next question. When did you actually order the books for the book fair? Do you wait for all the orders to come in, or did you just use your store inventory to fulfill those?
I'm assuming this question is for the current times, which in this case, we treat our book fair orders exactly like a traditional online order. So we're fulfilling all of those now through Ingram. That might change as they come in too. It's not just, we're not buying a bulk and shipping them out. That might change because we do have a warehouse, but at the moment, that's how we're processing them all through Ingram. Where in normal times, we do have a warehouse and we specialize it to that school and we order in advance and then we deliver them. So it's very different.
In the spring, we had already ordered all of our spring book fair inventory, so it was in our warehouse, ready to go. So as the orders came in through our website, like Hannah was saying, we fulfilled them like we would any other online order, except that we were pulling from our warehouse instead of directly from the store shelves. One thing that we had not expected, but quickly became apparent, was when you open up your website as the vehicle for your book fair orders, even if you direct everyone to one page and highlight the specific titles you want them to buy, they go off list so fast and they find every obscure self-published secondary warehouse book that they can find to order. So just be prepared for that if you decide to pursue it. Going forward, so yeah, we were sending those out as the books came in. Going forward into the fall, if schools have a hybrid model, or if they just have some sort of distribution system set up where students are coming to pick things up a couple times a month, we are hoping to deliver everything to the school for pickup, because that cuts our expense and enables us to give back more to the school. But what is looking most likely at this point is that we will be following the same model from the spring, where we will be fulfilling the orders through our website and probably mailing them directly to the student's home.
Anything else? But kind of hopping on what Susie was saying, I mean, how much do you allow people to order something that's not on your specific list, or do you limit it to your specific list? They are going to their website, and I know they're finding other things, but, and also pre-sales. I'm thinking about the Wimpy Kid coming up, where you're going to do, are pre-sales part of your book fair plan going forward?
Yes. So because we're going through Ingram, we kind of have a bit more freedom. We are doing pre-sales. We actually have, if I went through the whole catalog that we ended the season with, we had pre-order campaigns, if that's what you mean, not campaigns, but pre-order titles that they can order now, and that money will go towards their school, but they will get the book when it ships, and we just place a back order via Ingram, and or place a special in our stores. Now that they're open, they do have the option to pick up their books in the store for free versus having it shipped to them with our general fee for that. I think, sorry, Anne, I lost my train of thought. What was another part? Did I answer it fully?
I think you did. It was the pre-sales. And there's also, this is our list, but anything else you want to buy. But then Susie brings up the question about the obscure things.
Yeah, we were flexible. We expected that people, like, our catalogs was more of a guide. You know, these are our option, you know, our recommendations for you. If you don't know what to buy for your student, or they're not there to pick themselves, if you don't, you know, we're going off the assumption that not everybody has a list of books that they want to buy. So some of them need the visuals, and that helps them, because our website isn't necessarily browser friendly like a bookstore is. You know, they don't get to walk around and pick things up and put it back, you know. So that's kind of what the catalog was, which these are our bestsellers, these are our picks, these are new. But then they have our whole website inventory to shop off of. So, you know, we were getting mixed orders. And if there was a title that we couldn't get through Ingram, we just told the customer, you know. A couple people were able to order books that were only on hand at one of our stores, which was currently locked down. You know, it's a local author, but we had them on our website. So in those cases, we told them the situation of like, well, we can get it to you when our store is open. Would you like to keep it on your order and we'll email you, or would you like us to remove it? And they just, you know, they were usually pretty quick to respond.
And I know at least Susie and Hannah have, and I think Christie, you all have indie commerce websites. Is that correct? Okay, so when you say you're placing through Ingram, you're kind of doing it through your websites, right? Direct to home, or do you pull it out of that queue and handle it somehow differently?
We do via Ingram's direct to home. Yeah,
okay.
We have a team. We're lucky enough to have a team of people get into our website.
Okay. Okay, another question. Do you ever bring publicists, I assume publicists / sales reps, to talk about books during that they're repping? This is Heidi from Capital Books.
We have done in the past. I don't think we've done it recently, but certainly it's something we'd be open to.
BookSync does a regular rep night, mostly for our booksellers. It's kind of like an exciting time to get all of our booksellers together. We do have a children's one and an adult one, a general one that we do, I think, every 6 months or so for our booksellers. I know for the children's one, we invite educator contacts. It's a very small list. It's not, you know, everyone that we work with. It's like, you know, probably the people we work with the most, who are always contacting us about major buys, or, you know, who are always looking for recommendations and have that communication flow. We invite them, but we don't necessarily bring publishers or publicists to schools.
I just had an idea while you guys were talking that I'm sure I'm not the only person on this call married to a teacher. It seems like it's a common thing with booksellers, but knowing what teachers are doing, getting ready for distance learning and thinking about book fairs, it occurs to me that in addition to us making these catalogs of recommendations, that I know some teachers who would love to have their students help make their own catalog and recommend books to each other that would then be listed on a special page for them to order. I think they'd have a great time with that.
Really fun idea. Also, Christie, the question about how do you deal with short discount orders?
Yeah, I was wondering, you guys, if you exclude those from the fundraising earned by the school.
So our website automatically marks up the short discount orders. So if it lists at $15, it'll mark it up a couple bucks for us. So we just include it as part of the general deal.
And Susie, a question from Erin Deely. Susie, will Educator Night be virtual this year?
We don't know yet. It's under discussion. Sorry, I wish I knew.
Okay, let's see. Something else here from Maureen Palacios. The percentages for direct from publishers versus Ingram is quite different. So how can money be made if you are using all the orders via direct to home Ingram and still giving money to schools?
So we did in the spring drastically change our donation process to help us with that, because we didn't want to exclude anything. And at the time, our publishers had stopped their shipments to us, you know, and we were shut down our warehouse was shut down too. So we were all working at home, and that was the only option we had. So we just communicated with the schools that it's going to look different this year. We don't have the capabilities to give you as large as a discount as we normally would, because we are spending money on shipping you the books. You know, we're taking a loss on the shipping cost as a company with like on our website, because we offered the same shipping. It was, you know, free shipping at the time, or discounted 2 to 6 day. And we extended that to our book fairs. We didn't change it. You know, we kept it that way. So, you know, we had to crunch some numbers, and most of the schools are really understanding in that way. And I think now we're going to focus more on how to get that control back in certain areas.
And we had a similar situation where, since we had a lot of the warehouse, or a lot of the inventory was already in our warehouse, we could extend the normal discounting that we would have done, or sorry, the reward for the book fairs. For some of them it's stock, and some of them it was cash back. But it was tight. The margins were tighter because of all the shipping. So it's something that we are looking at again as we prepare for the fall.
Okay, something here from Aaron Daly again to Christie. The SS involvement idea is great. To distribute it might be possible to send the books to the teacher, and the parents can stop by the school to pick them up. Also, Emily at the seat of the table, is it acceptable to ask what percentage you donate to schools? I don't know if that is acceptable under these, you know, I know everybody does it differently, and I think we've talked about that in the past during these things. But I think we all do it differently. I think you have to just crunch your numbers and see where you can make a comfortable profit. What makes sense for you, if that makes sense. Since it's not a discount or terms we receive from a vendor. This is true. But ultimately you have to figure out what profit you're comfortable with. And so maybe that's 20%, maybe it's 10%, maybe it's on a sliding scale, which, you know, after you hit this level of sales, you get this much back. Maybe it's, sometimes it's, you get it in books, you know, you can get your, are you offering a cash back to your school, or you're offering books back to the school? And maybe that amount can be different. Does anybody else want to speak to that somewhat? But I really do think
a little bit about. Yeah, it did come up between me and the CEO of our company as we got a little further into this season, and we were talking about bringing in shopping nights, which are now shopping weeks because it's virtual. But and so I had an idea of how much money was coming in on book fairs, which were just our book fairs. We extended to 10 days versus the 5-day weeks, so that they could have a weekend. And then some. So they were a little bit more robust, and we were extending our shopping nights to be 7 days with a little less of the materials. And he was saying, you know, we should offer them this percentage. And I said, yes, but most of our fairs are only bringing in this much, and a donation of that percentage isn't really worth it, you know? So, you know, we have to think about, are they going to be excited about that? You know, when the majority of our sales are reaching this number, you know, or the average of our sales is this for each fair, does it make sense to even offer that? And you know, he went, oh, that's a good idea. So we bumped it up just a little bit. And we do, now we do the sliding scale. It's not as high as our physical fairs go, but you do have the option to get up there. So they have an incentive to get more money and to push it a little bit harder with their communities, within their communities. And then we do like you get this percentage back in check, or if you choose to take it in a gift card, so in books, you get 5% more, I can say that. But you know, it's higher from that. So that's what we offer. But it was kind of a mix. It's like, it might be difficult for us to return that, but it makes it worth it for the school. You know, it's that or nothing on our end.
And I gotta say, you know, most schools that choose to do book fairs through something other than Scholastic, where they just kind of open the case and you run, even though they have to make room and that kind of thing at the store, choose to go with our stores because they want to offer an exceptional list of books to their students. And it's more about the kids getting books, and the fundraising aspect, though it's nice, isn't always the main reason that they choose to go with an independent bookstore. So they're looking for your selections, your expertise, and that's one of the things that they're partnering with us for, is your expertise. It's not just about the money raised, and getting really good books in the hands into the hands of their kids, because you can all, you know, they could make so much more money selling candy or gift wrap than they could on books comparatively. So, has anyone used the ABC catalog as a virtual book fair catalog from Maureen?
We did used to send that in advance of our physical book fairs, and it occurred to me that we might try that for virtual ones this year. The problem with the physical book fairs is that sometimes there are more titles there than you want to, or different titles than you actually want to bring, but it seems like that might be a nice fit for virtual book fairs where you don't actually have to necessarily have all the stock in advance.
Mm-hmm. And CALIBA does have its catalog as well that has both adults and kids books. It's about half and half coming up this year. So if you want to offer books for the whole family, and the ABC catalogs are great though, I gotta say too. And Elena said from Napa Book Mine said that they used the catalog last year for one book fair. So I'm trying to go down my list of questions. Has anybody tapped into the homeschooling market at all?
I can talk a little bit about that with a new program that we started that isn't necessarily designed for schools themselves, but more for parents who are doing virtual. And this idea came from my boss. I can't take it, but he has two young girls that are now doing their schooling at home, not homeschooling, but virtually learning at home. And I guess through conversations with some of his friends and contacts, he came up with an idea to do our new Adventures in Learning subscription box. I really don't think we could have gotten it off the ground pre-COVID, to be honest. We tapped into a niche, you know, a need that parents might be concerned about, you know, the education they're getting. Not that their educators aren't working very hard to put together a fantastic virtual learning calendar or whatever you call it, but you know, that they might want something to supplement it. So we are doing 4 books. They have the option to buy a box. We have 4 different age groups, and we did. So the categories we have are STEAM and SEL, or social emotional learning title, and a fiction and a nonfiction in each box. And then we broke it down by age group. So pre-K, K through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, and 6th through 8th. I really wanted YA, but we're going to try this out first and see how well it goes before we throw in the teens, which always throw everything off in a different direction. But, you know, we just had August was our first month, and it was much more successful than I expected, and so I was pleasantly surprised, put a lot of work into it. And we actually work with our reps there. But we did do a big part of our marketing towards our community of homeschooling parents. I can't necessarily talk to what the return was. We do have a couple booksellers who themselves homeschool their children, so they have that connection, and they sent out the information to their contacts. But it was received really well. So that's one thing we're doing. We're not really doing your traditional book fair idea for homeschooling. Not that I think you could, but that's what we've been doing. And it's just brand new, so we'll have to report on that later another time. But it's been successful so far.
That's great. Amy at Pegasus has a question about authors virtual classroom by classroom. Do you want to just turn on your mic and talk to that, Amy?
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for this. Interesting. I just was, you know, we haven't done author visits to schools. We've done, you know, stuff at our store, but I wonder how easy
This is a question about virtual book fairs with schools or virtual school visits.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
Am I still freezing?
No, you're better now. Okay. Oh,
I just wanted to, I just was going to say that. What? Maybe I'll get it. It seems like it's a weird expenditure of time for an author by classroom rather than going to a school and seeing all of the kids. And if they might be game for that, and would it be 20 minutes in a classroom at a time, and then how the book sales would happen?
I think it really tends to be in an auditorium more than classroom by classroom. I would assume, but okay. And Catherine here from Hicklebee's, Catherine, do you want to come in and talk about how you did it?
Sure, I would be glad to, Anne, no problem. So we, like Susie said, had to do a pretty quick pivot because we already had a lot of authors that had been scheduled. And we did about 40 visits in May. And what we learned was that it can go both directions. By having it be virtual, authors can actually see more students because there's no limit to how many kids you can put on those calls. So in some cases, the authors were doing events with the entire school, which you couldn't do at a school because you can't fit them all in their multi-purpose room. On the flip side, the authors were willing to do more visits. So like if you have an author who was hoping to do one day and see perhaps 2 or 3 schools because of travel, they were now willing to do 4 schools a day and perhaps 2 or 3 days worth of visits because they don't have the travel piece involved. And so we reached a lot more students, and that also meant that they were willing to do some of the really small schools where it was like a classroom of 20 kids, because if they're seeing 800 kids over here, they're willing to also see 20 kids over here and do some very specific like workshop-y stuff, which at least the set that we worked with in May, which was a wonderful group of authors, they loved that. So it gave us the ability for the authors to do some, like, to kind of do what they really wanted. I think the piece that we're still really playing with is the streamlining the efficiency around the sales so that that piece comes through better. And I think that the visit side went great and everybody loved it. And so what we're really playing with for the fall is, do we have sales minimums? Can we do that direct distribution? Because of course that makes things so much easier. Our old model involved having the school do all of the distribution, so it would be great to stick with that model. I see a couple of questions in the chat about platform, and one of the things about the in-school visits for the authors is that they just have to use the platform that the school is on. And so what I found is once I lined up the schools and the timing, I just had to put the author in direct connection with the tech person or the administrator who facilitated that. And they just needed the credentials to get in terms of like a Zoom link or whatever, and they need to know what it was. I have noticed that schools are moving away from things like Google Classroom and Zoom into things like Canvas and WebEx as they transition from what was a quick and dirty virtual model to like, we might be doing this for the whole year. So, but they definitely have the lock on how that is. So you just kind of have to hook them up.
Did you ever have an author visit multiple schools at the same time?
Yes, actually. We ended up having one author that basically did all of the second graders in the entire district. And when we did that, it just had to be down to the school district to make that their person figured it out. And the author was told, like, here's your link, show up, and the kids were brought in. And so there's a lot of flexibility around the virtual that, like, I don't think we realized it up front, but the schools would ask us these questions. And of course it was up to us to say, I don't know, why not? Let me check with the publisher, so it brought up a lot of that kind of stuff and made it possible.
Okay.
We didn't do a panel. We never tried that.
Well, we are right up against the hour. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, panelists, Christie Olson Day, Hannah Welcher, and Susie Huff, and everybody else that chimed in during this. See you somewhere on the web later on, I'm sure. Thank you so much.